You're listening to the podcast Coffee with Mike and Julie, Libertarians Talk Psychology. This is current commentary from an MBA businessman and a PhD psychologist.
Look what they done to my song.
My topic for today is the current dialogue about unidentified flying objects. And we both smile as I talk about this
because how does this fit with libertarians?
Well,
but it does.
Well, I've always been pretty skeptical of the stuff that I've heard about unidentified flying objects.
Well, you know, I was recruited, I think I've talked about this before. I was recruited by the local chapter in Louisiana for MUFON, the group that studies unidentified flying objects. And there was an retired Air Force colonel or something. He was really impressive. And he recruited our clinic to work with people who have been abducted. Well, we never got a single abductee.
You never had anyone come in?
No one ever came in. But he came and interviewed me to try to understand what my attitude was about the unidentified flying object. Of course, I'm open-minded. That could be alien. I'm a Star Trek fan. I believe that people are out there.
Did you tell him you're a Star Trek?
I probably did. He was a really cool guy. He was an older guy, very accomplished in the Air Force, and he had seen vehicles flying. You know, these military people, they see this stuff.
Yeah.
And they aren't hysterical. They logically analyze it and that's not us. That's not Russians. That's not Chinese. That's something different.
I'm going to play a Tucker Carlson clip. And Tucker Carlson does a good job of convincing me that there's something to all this stuff. So I'm going to play that. But before I even play that, I want to emphasize that anytime the authorities are hiding something from me, then I know, it's obvious when they're hiding something from me. You know, the JFK assassination, they're still hiding stuff on that. Every war, they're lying to me and hiding stuff about that. COVID, they're still lying to us about all the COVID stuff. So anytime I see that, then I stay open-minded to whatever the explanation might be. But sometimes the explanation is kind of hard to figure out.
That's an interesting approach, is that if someone is deceiving you,
right? It's
not a conspiracy theorist. If they're deceiving you, there's a motivation behind that.
Right.
Probably whatever they say, it's about money.
Yeah. So let me see if I can get to that.
Earlier this year, Congress passed something called the UAP Disclosure Act of 2023. The law requires the U.S. government to tell the public what it knows about the countless unidentified flying objects that have been spotted in the skies above Earth over the past 3,000 years. It's designed to be, and it very well could be, a transformative piece of legislation. And it comes at a time when we can finally say with confidence that the most unlikely sounding theories about UFOs, yes, these things are real. They're not all weather balloons. They're non-experimental aircraft from this or any other country. Whatever they are not of human origin, nor do they behave according to the laws of known physics. And yes, the U.S. government currently has physical evidence that they exist. That means wreckage of the craft as well as the bodies of the beings that flew them. Amazingly, all of this is true. We know that from the detailed testimony, much of it under oath, from several high-level whistleblowers, including longtime intel officer Lou Elizondo and Dave Grush, both of whom we've talked to. But there have been many, about 10 so far. So the question is, now that the UAP Disclosure Act has passed, when can the rest of us see the information that we paid for and in fact own? Well, not so fast, it turns out. One of the great secrets of Washington, known to everyone inside Washington, is that many of the most powerful members of Congress do not work for their constituents, much less for the rest of us, for the country at large. They are instead puppets of the most secretive federal agencies. They are controlled effectively by the permanent bureaucracy, including through bribery and blackmail. Two such members happen to be especially powerful this term. They are Congressman Mike Rogers of Alabama, who is the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, and Congressman Mike Turner of Ohio, who is chairman of the House Intel Committee. Both of these men have been instructed to violate, in letter and in spirit, federal law, and to hide the truth about UFOs from the American public. They're working to do that right now. It is infuriating to watch this. But if you think about it for a second, it's also baffling. Why is this happening? Federal agencies have been lying about UFOs for more than 80 years. This has been a coordinated effort that is both highly time-consuming and very expensive. Many Americans have been hurt in the process. But what's the point of this? Wouldn't it be a lot easier to release the facts? Now, the conventional explanation for why they haven't been released is that the U.S. government is lying about UFOs because the truth about UFOs is too scary to reveal, that they're real. And our leaders wouldn't want to panic the population. But that's not true. In fact, it's ridiculous. Wouldn't want to terrify the population? Terrifying the population is what our government does best and most avidly. Officials regularly gin up irrational fears about COVID or white supremacy or Vladimir Putin or a dozen other topics as part of a pretty obvious control strategy. So it's like these people mind it scaring you. They want to scare you, and they do it every day. So why would they lie about UFOs? Well, because they're covering up a crime, obviously, and it's their crime. Someday we'll discover what that crime is. But in the meantime, here are a few questions that honest lawmakers ought to be asking. Have government agencies used tax dollars to procure advanced non-human technology? If they have, where exactly is that technology now? Has it been used for profit? How exactly has the American public benefited from that technology? And then this question, the most pressing of all. Has the U.S. government communicated directly with the beings that piloted these craft? Have American officials ever entered into any sort of agreement with them? And if so, what are the terms of that agreement? These are not random questions. They are informed questions. And at this point, Americans have a moral right to know the answer. One member of Congress who might be willing to ask those questions is Congressman Tim Burchett, who's a Republican from Knoxville. Burchett is one of the very few lawmakers in Washington who seems genuinely outraged by the cover-up in progress.
That's the clip I wanted to include.
Well, let me tell you, one reaction I have right off the bat is when Tucker Carlson sees the evidence and he's convinced that we have aliens visiting the Earth, it's kind of like, okay, it's no longer a conspiracy theory. I mean, everybody has been poo-pooed decades. You know, the only reason I thought aliens wouldn't be able to visit the Earth because I never could imagine how they could get here with the vast space, you know, the space between the next, you know, closest galaxy.
That part never
solar system.
That part never bothered me because if they're that advanced to civilization, who knows what kind of technology they have to travel these great distances or in time and space. Who knows? But the thing that made me question it is, if this is taking place, how come we don't know more about it? How come it isn't more obvious to us? And of course, he's kind of saying it's been obvious and our leaders have been going through great effort to hide it from us.
Well, here's one reason, is because my interaction with MUFON, I don't know what that stands for, but that was the group of people who believed that it was a valid investigation. The Area 51 might have really existed. Okay, so there was no internet and there was no way they could get their word out, and it was always poo-pooed by the authorities. And unbelievable claims are easy to poo-poo.
Yeah.
You know, when something is so radical an idea to our reality, it's just easy to call it a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And we see that now, but we have an explosion of information through the internet where I got to see Bob Lazar talk on an interview. I mean, I never even heard of the guy back in the 80s and 90s. He was a young physicist, or what kind of engineer would be anyway, he was an engineer that the government brought in to look at these ships. And he's very convincing. I mean, when you hear him talk, you don't see a lot of deception in him. And he's sort of like proof positive that stuff exists.
I always considered it to be in the same category as Bigfoot and people that saw ghosts.
It sort of is in the same category.
And Loch Ness Monster. Each of those areas kind of had vague proof of why they believed those things existed, but it was always vague and not very conclusive. You've seen these shows about the ghosts. These people have entire television shows where they're going from one house to the other. At the end of the show, they never have a ghost. But they're all, at the end of the show, they're always saying, did you see that?
Listen. You smell something?
So
Yeah, at the end of the show, they've got electrical anomalies, they've got temperature anomalies, they have all kinds of anomalies, but they aren't Ghostbusters. They don't have a captured ghost. Ectoplasm has not been contained.
He slimed me.
yeah, so I think from listening to Tucker, I believe something's there. You know, it's no longer the Bigfoot or the ghost stuff or Loch Ness monster. You know, it's
We don't know
more
about
serious to me. I know, but this seems to have more evidence to it. And there's government collusion to hide it from me. That's the biggest evidence of all. I don't think the government is hiding evidence about Bigfoot.
Nothing to see here, please.
You know, that doesn't seem to be the government.
Why would they hide that?
That's right.
So it's whatever they say it's about money. They've got to be hiding it because they're trying to make money off this technology.
Okay, so
And rationalizing it by we've got to break this, reverse engineer these aircraft. You know, that's what Bob Lazar was supposed to do, is help reverse engineer the aircraft so that we could exploit that technology.
Yeah.
But apparently they had something exploded big time and killed a bunch of people. Maybe. Anyway, they brought him in because they were failing at reverse engineering.
One argument is we could reverse engineer it and we could save money on the military industrial complex. Well, this stuff is going on all over the world. The Russians have their unidentified flying objects too.
Well, is that
They're
true?
reverse engineering too.
Well, is that true? It's like we aren't the special relationship with the aliens. They don't all land in the United States of America.
Well,
Pensacola.
right. So I don't think we are special pets of these aliens. I think it's all over the world.
Somebody
we
probably
might be,
knows that.
we might be better technologically to take advantage of it, but
So you're saying the UFOs are going to be crashing in Russia, they're going to be crashing in China, they're going to be crashing all over the place.
That's right. And they're going to be trying to reverse engineer it.
Well, here's another thing, just to throw out a bunch of stuff. The aliens might have tried to keep themselves from keep secret, but it looks like, I mean, if you take any of this as real, it looks like they're having less of a motivation to keep themselves hidden.
Right. It almost looks like they don't care that much.
Looks like they almost don't care if they crash landed. Russell Brand has that hilarious reporting on the people that landed, the aliens that landed in the backyard of somebody in Las Vegas.
Yeah. But see, that one I have trouble with because
Well, yeah,
it doesn't make sense. And, anybody can dress up as an alien. I mean, you can have people, they're disguised, they're going through your garbage.
So okay. Well, they didn't say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was joking about the garbage can. It's like he was joking about the 911 operator going, well, where are they in your backyard?
There's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Okay, where is this on your property?
Yeah.
like, does it matter? There's an alien person in my backyard. Okay, so, but the whole thing, it looks like the one level of analysis is it looks like this is real. This is no longer an imagination. This really is happening.
So that is the first step. That's why I bring it up today, is because finally I accept it as real. So now the next question is, why have they been hiding this from me?
Why has the government been?
Why has our government been hiding it?
Excellent question. And the answer you're looking for lies right here.
And Carlson, they had to pass a law to force the government.
Now, we knew there was something to it because this Area 51 stuff, they were never releasing all that stuff. And so we've known all along that something happened and they're resistant to letting us know about it. So we've sort of known.
We've known something.
But there's enough of it recently, and maybe it's because of the internet, but there's enough of it recently that, okay, there isn't much doubt about it. There really is something to this. So the next question, I accept that. That's off the table now for me. The next question is, why has our government been?
Yeah, good question.
Now, Tucker Carlson said the real answer is that they're covering it up because there's a crime that these guys have committed. But what could
Tucker Carlson says the government's committed a crime?
Yeah, and he says, eventually we'll find out what that crime is. In other words, he's admitting we have no idea what the crime is, but what could it possibly be? Why
Shooting down innocent aliens.
Well, why would that be so important to them to hide that from us?
Well, kind of like the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah.
I mean, the story there is the CIA arranged for his assassination.
Yeah, so that makes
Now, that would
total
be
sense.
important to cover up.
Yeah, that makes total sense why they'd hide that from us. And the wars, they got to hide that information.
Got to hide
from
that
us
too.
because they got to support the military-industrial complex. COVID, all the COVID stuff, they got to hide that from us
Because CDC doesn't want to get.
because they got to support Pfizer. I mean, all of
Yeah,
those,
all of those make logical sense.
that makes sense why the government is hiding that
Yeah,
information.
good point.
But the aliens, I don't understand, unless the aliens are giving these guys money. Maybe that's maybe the aliens are giving bars of gold to these politicians and saying, look,
Go Latinum.
Don't
The
tell anybody.
Ferengis are giving the money to the government.
you know, we're coming to your planet and we're harvesting resources.
Wow, that's an interesting thought.
We're harvesting resources from your planet, and it becomes common knowledge, then your population won't let us, they'll get in the way. So we need to give you money. We need to give you politicians money so that you will hide the fact that we exist. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, I mean, that is a dramatic and interesting. Of course, I don't think aliens need any of our resources. This is something I came to a long time ago on Star Trek. The horror movies where the aliens come here to get all their resources. Aliens that have interstellar flight
Okay.
aren't gonna need anything we got. We don't have anything that we might be fun to research. They may want to do research on us, and it's like natural observation about us.
They may be doing little exploration, trips to Earth. And every now and then it screws up and some Earthlings see them.
Well, they may want anonymity. They may be paying the government off to help them keep anonymity.
But I don't see the incentive. I agree with you. The aliens don't have any incentive for anything.
I can't imagine that
So
anybody.
why would our government want to keep it secret?
Good question. I mean, I can't think of a logical reason why they would keep it secret. But they've admitted that they have kept it a secret. So all of this is out. I mean, this is fascinating stuff. That the internet has exploded this idea. When I was working in the 80s and 90s with the UFO group, now that group, they all believed it because a lot of them were Air Force pilots who had seen evidence of.
And the whole reason they were interviewing you was to make sure that you wouldn't poo-poo these guys. I mean,
Yeah, they
these
wanted to
guys
make
were
sure.
dealing with PTSD,
Yeah.
and they didn't want you to be harming these guys.
Yeah, they wanted to make sure. And my colleague Bob, he believed in it too. I mean, they wanted people who were respectful of their position. We didn't have to believe the same thing. Well, I kind of was just maybe open-minded would be I'm a Star Trek fan. I'm open-minded to this kind of stuff. But they did not want someone that was disrespectful of their beliefs. But, when you're listening to them, these are Air Force pilots. These are hot shots. These are hot shot Air Force, really bright, really capable, really conscientious Air Force colonels and lieutenants. And so they had seen something that they said, the only explanation is it's not from this world. I mean, they were convinced. And so I became convinced that they had seen something. It wasn't.
So I'm convinced. That's not the question for me.
Yeah,
It's clear that our government's hiding it from us, and anytime our government is hiding something from us, there's something really devious behind their incentive to do that, and I can't see what that could possibly be.
Which is more disturbing than if it's about money. Like they're hiding the war stuff from us so that they can grease their palms with the military-industrial complex. At least we have a good hypothesis about why they're hiding that, but you're right. What is our hypothesis about why they would hide aliens?
Well, the only thing I can think is if we opened up our population to the aliens, maybe there would be no need for military-industrial complex.
That's an idea. Because, Russell Brand taps into that. Is that if there's intergalactic travel and consciousness, how they get here is blows my mind. Is that how you get through vast distances that are
some sort of, what do you call it? What, warping?
warp capability?
Not warp, the folding universe. The universe.
That's what warp is.
Oh,
It folds. full space time.
You're the Star Trek fan.
Well, I don't even know exactly what I mean. Yeah, but I know the stories, but I don't know warp space.
Yeah. But it isn't as if they have a really fast ship. We can feel pretty sure about that. They have some technology even greater than that. But it doesn't matter, Chip. That isn't what matters.
Well, it matters to me because when you start, and this is what I was going to say about Russell Bland, when you start thinking about that, is that we're getting to a place now where we understand that consciousness is part of defining reality at the quantum level, that this is where we're getting to, that reality is, non-local. I mean, with Pulitzer Prize, Nobel Prize in physics went to this area of consciousness, reality, matter, energy, consciousness stuff, and that blows the top off all kinds of different things. That those aliens would have already studied that a long time and have mastered the technology. That is reality changing. Our little problems here on Earth pale in comparison to the fact that, that would be a quantum leap ahead if we knew that we are not alone in the universe and that.
So how does that damage the deep state?
Well, you make a very excellent point. That would damage the deep state because their power to control the population's emotions and motivations and beliefs would go out the window. All of a sudden, there'd be an awakening that would be probably spiritual, technical, philosophical at some deep level about our existence. I mean, all of a sudden, the things we think define our existence would no longer define our existence. I mean, it may take time, but that would be mind-blowing if aliens had cracked some kind of...
Maybe the technology that these aliens reveal to us fixes us up so we don't need centralized authority for anything. And if we don't need centralized authority for anything...
And these guys are out of a job.
These central authority people, they don't like that at all.
Well, I mean, that hypothesis has merit, is that they would lose power because there's a more powerful...
Alternative.
Yeah.
This
is fascinating. I love this discussion because it's so out there.
Well, this, as flexible as you and I think our minds are for being willing to think of different alternatives in the world. And this thing about ghosts, I think that there's a real possibility.
Well,
I'm into that one.
When you start, the spirituality, the spiritual aspect of this, when you start realizing that energy and matter are transferable, and you start looking at the quantum theory, and I don't presume to be any kind of expert on this, but the quantum mechanics stuff that means that consciousness is the special sauce that makes reality into reality, then all bets are off.
Yeah.
All other bets are off. Everything's on the table.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, I hear you. I just don't see the connection to our leadership hiding stuff from us. But anyway, let me conclude, because that, to me, that is the conclusion, is I now accept that there is something to these unidentified flying objects, these aliens. There's something.
In all these years I told you didn't have any impact on your belief.
Well, I still held out that it could be
a hoax.
Yeah, a hoax.
It still could be a hoax. It still could
Bigfoot might exist, but I haven't, with all the stuff I've seen, it looks like a hoax to me. And all the stuff I've seen about the Loch Ness monster, that seems like a hoax to me. The ghost stuff, I'm still open to that one.
Well, there's a lot there.
Because I have dreams that might make me think I'm talking to people who are dead. So, and I enjoy that.
Well, if a Long Island medium can do it, you can do it.
There you go. So I'm open to the ghost thing. But so I accept the increased evidence, the abundance of evidence about unidentified flying objects. So me now is, why is our government hiding it from us? Because that's kind of critical.